Look at this thing, canary yellow. Well, I wouldn't have a clue. I'm just going to call it canary yellow because it's yellow. It's a HJ47. It is the 3rd month of 1981 that Toyota gave us this one. She is a bloody beauty. Have I got a story to tell you about this one? It's decked out. It's a Tourer, 4-wheel drive. It's a full build. It's got a bit of history to it. So it starts off, Rusty purchased this one. Rusty is well known in the community, and this was his first build. He bought it and it did not look like this. It was pretty much stripped down. It had a V8 in it, was missing all its paint. It had was a coilover, had things that it was a project. So Rusty buys this as a project and he gets it home and he soon realizes, you know, it came with stacks. He doesn't want stacks. It had a few little parts that he decided to sell on Facebook in the groups, and that's where Grant comes into it. Now I'm going to talk a bit about Grant because this is Rusty's car, but Grant in the 40 series community in southeast Queensland, and he's known in Victoria and everywhere. They're a wheeling family. At every event I've done multiple walk-arounds on their cars. They've got more cars that I haven't done walk-arounds on. Hands-on guy, friends for years. So Grant buys the stacks and meets Rusty. They part ways, and then Rusty soon realises that he's got chassis problems. So Grant had met him. Grant went out and said, yeah mate, your chassis stuffed. Rusty bought another chassis for the build. So now it's ground up. And unfortunately, when you buy stuff off Facebook, yeah mate, should be right, $800. Well, that chassis was rooted as well. So that's where Grant and Rusty really got together, and Grant said, look, I've got a spare chassis, I've got a spare lot of stuff, so would you like to build this in my Deception Bay shed? He had a shed back then in Deception Bay, and we can build it together of evenings, and I'll give you a hand because Grant's such an enthusiast, and you soon make friends when you're into 40 series. So that's where it began, and virtually there's a tub and a door, not much that stayed on it, but Grant came through, and Grant's son Aaron, they helped him with this chassis, they helped him with parts, and the build began. So it's come a very, very long way. We'll go through it all. Now Rusty did, he's a good client to Mr. Landcruiser as well. So in the early days we sold him a 2H, and that 2H has been fully rebuilt, all gone through. We'll go and have a look underneath shortly. And we also sold him a factory 5-speed, so your 40 series 5-speed, and he rebuilt that, made it a 5-speed. But before I go into the mechanical, let's have a look around the outside of this vehicle, what you can and can't see. So up the front, the ARB bull bar supports his the fishing rod holder, some headlights, looks like a Dominator's winch, and he's just really utilising the space up there. Now Rusty's put suspension under this, he's lifted it, and what we can't see underneath this one is a 100 litre water tank, and also the dual fuel. So he's got the double tanks. At the rear of this one, so she's disc brake front end and the disc rear end, so that's given it its handbrake and what have you. So again, yeah, 75 series. Also on this car, we've got the tray. Grant and Aaron, Grant's son, and Rusty built this tray, steel floor, wood sides, toolbox in the back. The toolbox is where he keeps air compressor, and this thing also has an air tank as well. Also with the box on the back, so again Rusty tours this thing, so it's got double Anderson, and I believe that might be where he keeps his battery, but double Anderson, all his switches, and the little solar power panel to keep that battery topped up. So he's, for such a little box, he's really utilised the space in there. The roof rack's brand new. Mr. Landcruiser put that up there. That one's designed for a 70 series. That one's a tradesman, they call it, tradesman roof racks if you Google them. Quite a nice bit of kit. You will see also on the other side the snorkel that was custom fabricated to go with his turbo. Again, we'll go and have a look. He's had the windows tinted and painted it all up. The scoop was put in by Rusty, and I normally talk about future plans at the end, but it's time to do the scoop and a little bit of rust. So they're the future plans for this. So we have a close look. The bonnet needs a little bit of attention, and that's the very next thing. So Rusty leaves Mr. Landcruiser and gets that fixed. Now Rusty, most people, if you, he destroyed his roof. I'd love to tell you he did it like wheeling in the high country and rolled it or what have you, or something amazing. But he just drove into his own garage and stuffed the roof and the roof rack. So he's come to us, and now Mr. Landcruiser has thrown that fiberglass roof in the bin, and we've got the steel reproduction roof on, and we threw his old roof racks in the bin, which used to be mine. I sold them to Grant, Grant sold them to Rusty, and how it all goes. Well, they're destroyed, we changed them as well, and plumbed his console and what have you back in. We'll look at that soon as well. That's the exterior of this car. Let's go and have a look underneath the bonnet. Whoa, what's all this stuff going on? Well, he's got a water to air intercooler. He's fully rebuilt the 2H now. He knew he was going to turbo it, so he threw a bit of ceramic here and prepped that for the turbo. You will also notice that is a 12HT rocker cover. Now that is smaller than the 2H one, but it bolts straight on, and that's allowed just more room for his intercooler. Aircon. It's got the compressor. This has got the full aircon set up, so we've got the 5-speed, the turbo, the aircon, the disc brake rear, and now I'm going to point to the reservoir because it's got 75 series power steer as well. So when it comes to fruit, when it comes to building the ultimate tourer, this is the one. So it's fully reworked. Now Rusty does wheel this. He's taken it to the Victorian high country. He's actually toured and four-wheel drived along the east coast of Australia, and some of his highlights, he got it bogged, he's tipped her on his side, he's had to be towed up hills. He's taken it all over Australia. You will notice, we see it a lot, the brake booster upgrade. Well, you need the 80 series booster double diaphragm. You need the upgrade for disc front and disc rear. Really tidy. I can't see much wiring because he's had a custom loom made. This was back in the days before ACL sort of dominates the scene now, and for a good reason, but Rusty's had all this custom made. The airbox is a generic one off the shelf with the custom made snorkel to go with it. He's plumbed it up well. Now you've got to remember it had a V8, so he's changed his cooling system all back to a 47. And he said it's one of the best things he done. He did, in the early days, he did run a V8, and it wasn't for him. Some of the beaches and that he was wheeling hard on, it just goes through the fuel. So he's really, really loved, a little bit slow and steady, but he loves the 2H setup, and he's done a really, really nice job under this bonnet. While I was outside, I didn't mention that this one had a rear locker. So I said it's got the compressor and the air tank. That also runs, I don't know if I'm allowed to tell, but it also runs a locomotive horn, which is bloody loud if you've ever been near a train station and heard one of those blow. Well, the air tanks for that and the rear locker. So we'll go straight to the dash. That's where he's got his switches. He's set up his diff locker, compressor, winch, reverse lights and spotlights all in the one panel. And then I believe there were already holes in the dash, so he's utilised those for water temp, oil, and underneath the tacho, he's got a red arc dual gauge, which is boost and EGTs. So nice and plain on the dash. Underneath the dash is that, I said aircon, that's factory aircon from the day, the one that blows right in the middle. Doesn't freeze the passenger, very cool. The true fit floor, and then the seats are XR6. How good's that? And a lot of times I don't like them, how he's got them mounted here. It is so comfortable. My visuals, we're going to get in the comments. Aid, I know it needs a visor, but where you sit with these XR6 seats, you sit quite high, so a visor might actually restrict some of that, but it's so comfortable. And we've got a little cool box for sangers and refreshments, and you can also power your phone and what have you through his little cool box there, utilising space. Now above my head, we put a new roof on this, so we've had to go in and then recarpet the roof, take the console out, refit the console, wire it all back in, and he's just used it mainly parcel shelves, a couple speakers, and UHF. He also has a little light here. Ooh, it works. And that's it for the console, but a great way to utilise space. It looks like the dash pad has been recovered and they've done a really nice job. That is not a genuine from factory finish, so you can buy skins for these. I think they're in America. You buy skins and they mould on over, so you don't have to have seams and what have you. I think I have mentioned everything inside. This is it. It's pretty cozy. He's got the carpet running around the sides, aircon, dark windows. It'd be really nice in the summertime in this one. You're comfy. I could tour in this all day. Let's not forget, everyone loves a Spider gear stick. Nice and tacky. I've got one myself. Must have. It's a must have. So here we go. That is Rusty's build, and a big shout out to Grant Bauer. It's well loved in the community, but that's Rusty's rig. Now Rusty, I follow him on Facebook. He's a mate, so he's on my Facebook. He's fishing every other weekend, so it's got the tow bar on the back, pulls his tinny around. It's been a man's daily. He uses it, and it's also a tourer and a four-wheel drive. This thing's the real deal. It's built to use, not just look at. And it's not overbuilt where he has to trailer it everywhere, so he gets to enjoy the drive as he goes along. Really appreciated. Known Rusty for years, but this is the first time Mr. Landcruiser has actually worked on it, because Rusty, hands-on guy, gives everything a crack himself with mates. He is running the Bridgestone jewelers on there, all-rounders. He's had a few changes over the years, but that's great for his touring. And if he needs to change them out for four-wheel driving, he does. This is Rusty's third month 1981 HJ47, and it gives me a chubby.